Hi everyone, I'm Sarena. This is Zena. She wants to help today, but she only knows about 3 yoga poses and she won't do them on command. So I think you should just leave this to the people. What do you think, Pup? Is that alright? Okay. Alright, so the sequence I'd like to share with you today is building up to a pose called Eagle, Garudasana. This is a beginner pose, but it can be a very challenging one because we're standing on one foot, our arms are wrapped up, our legs are wrapped up, so it's asking a lot of the hips, it's asking a lot of the shoulders, it's got the whole body involved. So this can be a fairly challenging pose, but we're going to work up to it in stages, and there will be modifications and stopping points along the way. So if this is a pose that you find challenging or you haven't really tried before, I encourage you to stick with it through the whole sequence because you'll get as far as you get and it'll be perfect. So we're going to start off in a comfortable seat. Comfortable could be sitting on your knees like this. It could be cross-legged. Just if your knees tend to go way high up and you fall backwards like that, sit up on something. Sit up on a blanket or pillow or even up on a chair for this first part. So find whatever that comfortable seat looks like for you. And then lengthen up tall through the spine, find a little lift of the heart. We're going to start with a bit of breathing exercise. So close your eyes and turn your awareness inside. And start by just noticing the patterns of your breath. And especially feel where in the body do you experience the breath. Sometimes we don't breathe as deeply as we could throughout our day. And so the breath just kind of ends up here in the chest. Just in the upper lobes of the lungs, not going very deep at all. So notice if that's where you feel the breath. Or maybe you can feel the breath moving in the belly. Just experience what it's like in your body right now. And then what we're going to try to do with the breath is 3-part breath. So we'll try to move the breath into 3 separate parts of the body. The first is the belly, the second is the ribs, and the third is the chest. So rather than just breathing up into the chest in that short, shallow way, we're going to try to press the breath down into the lower lobes of the lungs and use the diaphragm to expand the belly out. And then when that's as full as it can, see if you can let the ribs flare out to the sides and open up. And when that's about as full as it can be, then let the chest lift and get that extra little bit in the upper lobes. And then as you release, as you exhale, try to reverse that. Bring the chest down first, deflate from the top first. And then see if you can squeeze those ribs together, just like bellows coming in. And then deflate the belly last, draw that belly button in to get all the last bits of stale air out. So let's try that a few times together. Inhale, breathe down into the belly. And then out into the ribs. Still inhaling up into the chest. And then as you exhale, deflate the chest first. And then the ribs. And then the belly last. And a couple more times at your own pace. Belly, ribs, chest, ribs, belly. A couple more times. These 3 parts, belly, ribs, chest, ribs, belly. It can be difficult to isolate the 3 sections of the body, but just feel what you can. Do the best that you can. After your last one, go ahead and bring your breathing back to normal. Notice if maybe it's a little deeper. And then bring the arms out to the side, the palms up. I'll inhale, reach the arms to the sky. And then press the palms together and exhale, hands down to heart center. I'm going to do a little pattern here with the breath. So pressing the palms together, press the left hand a little bit more into the right and kind of swing both arms over to the side. And then press the right against the left and swing over to the other side. So you're still going to get a little bit of pressure between the palms. And then come back to center, interlace the hands, turn the palms forward if that's okay on your wrists, and stretching around through the back. Dropping the chin down. Alright, there's lots of noises going on in my house. Nothing I can do about it. All I can do is breathe and let it be. Separate the arms, draw the shoulders together, lift the heart, cactus arms. And then inhale, reach up. Exhale, press the hands down to heart center. Alright, one more time. We're going to press the left hand against the right and kind of swing both arms over to the side. This is a shoulder stretch. And then press the right hand against the left and swing over to the other side. And then come back through center. Interlace the fingers, turn the palms forward, round the back. This is a cat stretch. We're stretching the hands forward, dropping the chin down to the chest. And then take a big inhale as you lift the arms up. And then separate the hands, cactus arms. Find the shoulder blades and squeeze them toward the spine. And lifting up. And then reach high. And bring the hands back down to the heart. Good. Alright. If you were in cross-legged, go ahead and switch the cross of your legs so the other foot comes in front. Walk your sit bones back. Find that length through the spine again. And then fingertips to the shoulders. We're going to do some circles with the arms. So start by bringing the elbows back. Open them out to the sides and swing them forward. And just do that a couple times. Bring the elbows back, open them out wide, and come forward. And one more time like that, reaching out and coming forward. And then we're going to reverse that. So bring the elbows forward and then open out and swing back. And bring the elbows forward, open out, rounding back, and then a couple more times. Okay. And then go ahead and release the arms and give them a little shake. Okay, all right, we're just going to give ourselves a big hug here. So take the arms out wide and then just wrap the arms around yourself, reaching for the upper back. Just hugging in as much as you can. And then lift the elbows up. Notice if your shoulders hunch up to the ears, keep the elbows up, but slide the shoulders down away from the ears. And take a couple deep breaths here. With the chest compressed like this, you can't really breathe into the chest very well. So breathe down into the belly, breathe out into the ribs. Breathe into the back body maybe. You can feel the upper back expand with your inhale. Alright, now look down at your arms and just notice which arm is on top. Is it the right or the left? Just figure it out. This eagle sequence also works our brain as we have to figure out rights and lefts. So figure out which arm is on top. We're going to open out and then switch sides. So when you switch sides, bring the other arm on top. So take a deep inhale and open out, reaching the arms wide. And then give yourself a hug again. Other arm comes on top, reaching around toward the upper back. Just drawing in tight, giving yourself some of that love. And then lift the elbows up. Keep the elbows lifted, but slide the shoulders down the back. And take a couple deep breaths here. Breathe down into the belly, breathe out into the ribs. And then Inhale, open out wide. Lift the arms to the sky. And then bring hands down to heart center. Okay, I'm going to turn to the side, mostly so that you can still see me. You can face whichever direction you like. We're going to work on the hips a little bit. So start by just bringing the hands behind you. Maybe prop up on the fingertips so you can bring the palms down, but try and keep the heart lifted. You don't want to collapse here. So keep that heart lifted. Feet about hip distance, maybe a little wider. And we're just going to swing the legs side to side. This is called windshield wiper. So we're just bringing the legs to one side and dropping them over to the other side. So we're going to warm up our outer hips. Okay, just a couple more times. Keep your breath smooth and steady. Okay. All right, then go ahead and come back to center. So we're going to extend the left leg out and tuck the right foot in toward the inner thigh. So just like I mentioned earlier, if you're falling backward here, sit up on something to elevate the pelvis and help the pelvis tip forward a little bit. Walk your sit bones back. So we're going to move into this pose with a dynamic movement, moving with the breath. So start with your foot flexed. The leg is straight unless your hamstrings are really, really tight, in which case you could bend the leg a little bit, or even slide a blanket underneath to keep that knee bent. But if you can, straighten the leg out, press out through the heel, and bring the toes back towards you. So rather than reach for the foot, just bring your hands on either side of that leg. And we're going to start by lifting up tall. And then as you come forward, hinge forward and start to bring the heart toward the knee. So I want you to keep the spine straight here. And then start to round the back, drop the chin down and kind of round down a bit. And then start to stack the vertebrae one at a time as you lift and roll up. Okay, so let's see if we can find a breath pattern with this. So inhale, lengthen, lengthen. Exhale, hinge forward, keep the spine straight as long as you can. And then inhale to round and roll and stack the spine back up tall. Exhale to hinge forward, straight spine. Inhale to round and stack and lift. And once more like that. Exhale, hinge forward. And then inhale, round and roll back up to center. And this time we're going to come forward and hold. Again, I don't want you to reach for the foot. Just keep the hands on either side of the leg. Inhale, lift up tall. Exhale, hinge forward. And then when you get to your deepest point, just pause there. So it might be here. You might be able to go a little deeper. Just come to where you are. And then just kind of press the fingers into the floor. And try and lift your spine up out of the hips, reaching forward. And then breathing here. Keep that foot engaged. If it got lazy, bring those toes back towards you. Keep pressing out through the heel. Try not to reach with the chin, reach with the heart. And then lift back up. All right, we're going to take this right leg, pick it up, and then hold on to the foot and the knee with your hands. This is called rock the baby. So maybe you have the space to bring it into inner elbows. Maybe not. If you can get into inner elbows but you round and collapse, forget about it. Just bring it out to the hands instead. So whichever depth works for you, we're just going to kind of swing that leg gently side to side. Rock the baby. Be gentle with your leg, loving towards your hip. All right, then we're going to come to center and plant that right ankle just above the knee. Flex through your foot. So notice the difference between a flexed foot here and a pointed foot or just a relaxed foot. So we want to flex that foot, bring the hands behind us just like we did before. Lift up through that heart. We're going to come to a seated figure four. So start to slide your left leg in. And it might just be a little bit, or maybe it's quite a lot. But we want to keep the heart lifted, avoid that collapse through the front of the chest. So you slide in. Keep this foot flexed because Notice what happens if you relax the foot. All the pose dumps in, all the sensation of the pose dumps into the ankle and the outer knee. So keep that foot flexed so that the pose goes into your muscles rather than into the joints. Keep lifting, keep breathing. Send the breath down to the outer hip, especially if that's a really intense sensation for you. We want it to be a bit of a challenge, a bit of a sensation, but not a strain. If it's a strain, then back out of it to a point where it's not a strain. Take a couple more breaths here. Alright, and then slide that leg out, release, bring the feet out, hands behind you, lift up, and just swing those legs side to side a couple times, windshield wiper. You can let the glute kind of lift up off the mat. Okay. And then let's go to the second side. So this time it'll be the right leg that extends out, left foot that comes in. Walk your sit bones back or even sit up on something, trying to tilt the pelvis forward so that we can really lift up through the spine. Flexing the foot, press out through the heel. Remember, if your hamstrings are really tight and this is not possible to sit upright in this pose, find a bend through your knee and then see if you can tilt that pelvis up. Okay, but if you can, straighten that leg out, press out through the heel, and just bring your hands on either side of that leg. So we're not trying to reach the foot here, we're just lengthening through the spine. Inhale, lengthen, lengthen. Keep that spine lifted and hinge forward. Doesn't matter how far you go, go to the point of sensation, that's your edge. And then drop the chin down, start to round the back, and then come back up to center, just stacking one vertebrae on top of the next. Head is the last thing to arrive here. Let's move with the breath a couple times like that. So inhale, lift, exhale, fold, hinge, reach. And then inhale, round and roll and stack. And exhale, hinging forward. And then inhale to roll it back up through center. Twice more like that. Move with the breath. Exhale forward. Inhale to come up. So we keep as much length through the spine, as much lift through the heart as we can as we come forward. And then just round it up. Inhaling. Come back up to the base of the pose. And then this time as we come forward, we're going to just hold it. So bring a little energy into those hands on the floor. Lift up and out of the pelvis. Keep the foot flexed and just reach your heart forward. Notice if you stretch through the neck, try and keep the head at neutral. Just reach the heart forward toward those toes. Lifting out of the pelvis, breathing here. And then inhale, come back through center. We're going to pick up this left foot now. Hold the foot and the knee in your hands or slide into inner elbows if you can keep your spine straight. Rock the baby, just move the legs side to side, gently moving it around, exploring what range of motion you have in this hip. Okay. All right, then bring it back to center. We'll come to figure 4 on the second side. So crossing left ankle above right knee. Flex through your left foot. And then bring your fingertips behind. Keep the heart lifted. Draw the shoulder blades together. Use that to help lift the heart up. And then slowly start to bend your right leg and slide that foot in. And just feel how deep can you go on this side. Might be a little different than you could on the first side. Maybe you're a little more open here. Maybe you get to a point that you need to stop earlier. Just find where it is here. Keep the lift of the heart, shoulders drop down, smooth, steady breaths. And then release. Start to slide your right leg out. Release the left leg. Bring the feet to the floor. Hands behind you, and just swing the legs one more time side to side. Maybe you can notice a difference of the sensation through the hips after doing those 2 stretches. Okay, all right, from here, I'm going to come around onto hands and knees, setting up for tabletop. Now in the studio, I always say, bring something under your knees to pad if you have sensitivity to your knees. So same thing here, you could bring a blanket, you could double up your mat. And if your wrists are really sensitive, you could do this on fists, although I encourage you to try spreading the fingers wide and getting that stretch through the wrists. So either way, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, so you're in tabletop. You can tuck the toes or not, that's up to you, whatever feels more stable. And then we're going to move through cat and cow. On the inhale, drop the belly, lift the tail, lift the head, so we get that arch through the back. And on the exhale, drop the chin in, tuck the tail under, pull the belly away from the floor. Moving with your breath, inhale into the open sensation of the cow pose. Exhale, round and compress into the cat. A couple more times with your own breath. And find your way back to a neutral spine. I'm going to come into thread the needle. So we're going to do it 3 times dynamically, and then after the 3rd one we'll hold. So start with the left hand pressing down into the mat. We're going to reach the right arm up to the sky. So twist the whole torso here. We're not just flinging the arm up, but turn the whole torso, the heart, toward one side, reaching up through that right arm. And then we're going to thread the right arm underneath the left, so reach the fingertips out toward the left side. Keep the shoulder and the head hovering. And then take a deep inhale as you extract that and reach up to the sky again. Open out. And then exhale, reach through. Keep the hand hovering, just reaching as far as you can. Those hips stay high. And then inhale, extract, reaching up. All right, this time as you reach, this time we're going to come down to the floor. So reaching through, reach as far as you can, and then bring the shoulder and the side of the head down to the mat. So the hips stay high here, and you can leave your left hand on the mat right in front of your face, or you can curl those left fingertips forward, stretching the left hand to the top of the mat. That gets a little more stretch through the shoulder blade. Or to take it even deeper, you can leave your right arm where it is, lift your left, and wrap it around behind your back. Maybe you can even catch the right thigh, or just grab your shirt. Maybe even turn a little bit more, coming more onto the back of the head than the side of the head. So just make sure that there's not a strain in your neck as you do this. Make sure you can still breathe. And then if your arm is in one of those variations, you release the arm. Bring that left hand down in front of the face again. We're going to press into that left hand and lift the right arm and open it out to the right one more time, reaching up to the sky. And then bring that right hand down to the mat. So deep shoulder opener, a bit of a twist. We'll take it on the other side. Left arm reaches out, rotating and opening up to the left. Opening the heart to the sky. And then thread the arm through, reaching, hovering those fingers and shoulder above the floor. Take a deep inhale as you extract and reach the arm up to the sky. And then exhale, reach it through, reach, hover. Inhale, open up. And then one more time, reaching through. And then bring the shoulder and the side of the head down to the mat. Hips stay high here. Right hand either just on the floor or reaching forward toward the top of your mat for that deeper stretch through the shoulder. Or to go even deeper, wrapping the right arm behind your back. Maybe you can catch the inner thigh or somewhere in that general direction. Just find some place that's stable that you can breathe with. This is an awkward twisted up pose, so just be okay with that awkwardness. Breathe with it. If you got your arm into one of those variations, go ahead and release it. Planting the right hand in front of you, press into that right hand, using the energy of that arm to extract the left and open up one more time, opening to the side. And then go ahead and let it go. Bring both hands down to the mat, hands under the shoulders. Take a couple of cat-cows, just kind of wash that out. Okay, all right, we're going to move back down to the legs and hips. So hands under the shoulders. We're going to take the right leg back, bring the toes down to the mat. I'm trying not to kick the orchid here. Bring the right toes down to the mat and just lean back. So we're trying to get a stretch through the calf, through the ankle. And maybe you just press and hold, or maybe you kind of rock back and forth. Okay, and from here what we're going to do is pick up this right foot and cross it over to the left. So bring your right toes down to the mat outside of the left leg, and then turn and look over the left shoulder. You can see that foot over the left shoulder. So we're getting a strong side stretch, an outer leg stretch, outer hip stretch. Breathing here, full steady breaths. And then bring your head back to neutral. And turn the leg to center. And we'll switch to the other side. So extend your left leg back, toes down to the mat, just straight behind you to start. And just press the floor away from you with the hands, leaning back. And maybe you just press and hold. Maybe you rock forward and back. Remember, we're trying to wake up the ankle, the calf, maybe a bit of the hamstring. Just stretching into the back of that leg, gentle opening. Okay. All right, then go ahead and come back to center. We'll lift up the left leg and bring it over to the right side. So cross it over, bring the toes down to the mat. And then turn and look over your right shoulder so you can see that foot. We're getting that nice opening through the left side body. Stretch through the outer leg. If you're tight through the IT band, you might really feel this a lot in the outer leg. There's also a nice outer hip stretch for the sciatic area. A lot of the poses we're doing today are for that. All right, one more breath here. And then return the head to center, leg to center. Good. All right, we're going to lift up into downward dog. If downward dog doesn't really work for you, then you just meet us in a forward fold. If you can go for the downward dog, we're not going to be there real long. Step the hands just about one hand width forward. Tuck the toes. Keep the knees bent and just stick the hips high. Trying to lengthen through that spine. And then maybe straighten legs as the last step. Just trying to keep the spine lengthened instead of rounded. Take a deep inhale here. Open mouth, exhale. We're going to come to a forward fold. So you can walk the feet up to the hands back to the feet. Doesn't really matter. Just find your way to a forward fold. Try to make sure the feet are going straight ahead, not turned out to the sides. And then just let the upper body hang. So if you're not as deep as I am here, that's okay. Just let the arms kind of dangle. Maybe find a bend in the knees and try and lift the hips up. And don't worry about reaching the toes, just shake out the arms, shake out the head, just hang here. And then find a bend through the knees. And then round and roll up through the spine. Let the head be the last thing to arrive. Roll the shoulders a few times once you get there. Just arriving in your mountain pose. I'm just going to turn this direction again to face you. So set up your mountain pose. Let's bring the feet hip distance. So hip distance, if you take your two fists and then come down and fit them right in between your big toes, that's actually what hip distance is. And that correlates to the distance between your inner hip points. So you can always measure that way. It's often a little more narrow than we sometimes think it is. And then make sure that your feet are going straight ahead and actually look down at your feet and see this. Because sometimes if our default is to turn out and walk with our feet turned out, this feels like it's straight. And you don't realize it's not until you look down. And then turning the feet in might feel like you're doing this, right? But look and see that your feet are going straight ahead. Big toes maybe a little closer than your heels even. All right, and then open the arms out to the side. This is mountain pose, our basic standing pose. And we're just gonna kind of move forward and back on the feet. So just kind of shift your weight forward and back. Bring your weight forward to the balls of the feet. Feel the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound. Shift the weight back into the heels and feel the heels. So the big toe mound stays down, but maybe your toes start to lift up. Just kind of go forward and back and feel these fronts of the feet, backs of the feet. Okay, all right. And just find center. So you can feel the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound, and the heel all rooted equally. Lengthen up through the spine, lift up through the crown of the head. Find your breath here. Okay, all right, we're going to find chair pose. So bend your knees and sit the hips back, reach the arms up. Now I'm just going to turn to the side just to show you something. So with chair pose, we want to be careful to sit the hips back and not extend the knees too far forward, the toes like that. So notice if you're doing that and really shift the weight back into your heels and try and bring the knees back behind the toes. That's one reason we did that exercise of moving forward and back in the mountain pose a moment ago. So really shift the weight back into the heels, get the hips way back, the knees stay back. And then take another deep breath here. See if you can sit the hips a little deeper. And then inhale, stand tall. And go and release the arms. Shake out the legs. Now this time we're going to do chair pose and really shift forward and back on the feet so that we lift up onto the toes and then come back on the heels. So as we come back on the heels, you're not actually trying to balance on the heels. The big toe mound stays down, but maybe see if you can lift your toes and really go back. So set up those feet hip distance. Keep going straight ahead. Find your mountain pose. Inhale, lift the arms to the sky. Exhale, chair pose. Sit the hips back, knees stay back behind the toes. So we're going to move with the breath a little bit here. So as you inhale, sweep the arms back alongside the body. Come up on the toes. This is called perching bird. Try and sit the hips low, and then bring the heels down and reach the arms up. All right, let's see if we can coordinate this with the breath. Inhale into your perching bird. Exhale, drop the heels, lift the arms. Twice more like that. Inhale, come up onto the toes, lift the heart. Exhale, drop the heels, lift the arms. Once more, up onto the toes. And drop the heels, lift the arms. And then stand tall from there. And release the arms down. Roll out the shoulders a couple times. Okay. All right. Chair pose and eagle pose both work the quad muscle quite a bit. So I want you to get a little stretch here. Feel free to use a wall if balance is challenging for you. We'll do a little bit of balance in a moment, but for now I really want you to get this quad stretch, so use a wall if you need to. We'll do both sides. Bring your hand to the wall if you're using it. Same arm is going to reach back and catch the foot so that there's no twist happening in the knee. We'll do both sides, doesn't matter where you start. So grab the foot, you can go inside, outside, doesn't really matter. And then bring the knees in line. And just kind of draw that heel in toward the hip. Try and keep a lift of your heart. Breathe here. Maybe if you don't need that wall, you can start to let the hand go. Maybe reach the arm for the sky. Again, the balance isn't really the point here as much as that thigh stretches. Alright, then go ahead and release and switch sides, using the wall if you need to. So when we do dancer pose, I'm always very insistent that you grab the big toe side of the foot, and that's to protect the shoulder. But for this, either one is fine because we're not really kicking the foot back. Just draw those knees together, keep a lift of the heart so we're lifting up and out. Breathing here down into the thigh. Maybe you start to bring the hand away from the wall. Maybe you reach it up to the sky, maybe not. And a couple more breaths. And then go ahead and release. Alright, we're going to do a bit of balance from our chair pose. So I'll just stay facing toward you, and I'm going to try to mirror you as I cue. So I'll say right, and it's going to be my left, but it'll be your right. So don't think about that too much. Just we'll do both sides a couple times. Start with those feet hip distance. Make sure they're going straight ahead. Inhale the arms to the sky. Exhale, sit back in your chair pose. Make sure the weight goes back toward the heels. Alright, from here, start to shift all the weight into your right foot. And as you stand up, bring the left leg along with you. So we straighten that right leg and come up into a one-legged mountain, reaching high. And then from here, start to bend that standing leg and drop the left foot down. And you bring all the weight into that left foot. As you stand tall, bring the right leg up into your one-legged mountain. Straightening the standing leg, keeping the lifted leg bent. And then start to bend through the standing leg and slowly dropping the right foot down. We're going to do one more on each side, so shifting all the weight into that right foot, lifting the left up. Use your core, use that belly to help lift you up. And then bending the knee and dropping it down back into your chair. And one last time to the other side. All the weight comes into that left, lifting the right up, standing tall into your one-legged mountain, balancing on one foot. And then bend your knee and step it low. Good. And release, let it go. If you were wobbly, if you fell out of it, great. That means you're working on what you need to be working on. So it's all good. Next time you come through this video, maybe you'll do it a little more stably. Maybe not. Doesn't really matter. Alright, so find your mountain pose. We're going to come back up to the shoulders and work on the eagle arms. So just standing stable, feet hip distance. So at the beginning, we just gave ourselves a big hug. And that might be where you are with this as well. If you can, we're going to start by wrapping the right under the left. Cross at the elbows, and then cross again and try and bring the palms together. Okay, just trying so you can kind of see. So if that's not happening for you, if you're somewhere here, that's all right. Just squeeze the elbows together. And if you just need to be here with the hug, that works as well. Wherever you're at, try and lift the elbows up and slide the shoulders down the back. Take a couple deep, full breaths here. Breathe down into the belly, breathe out into the ribs. And then we're going to unwind, reach to the sky. And bring hands down to the heart. So we'll come into this on that second side. Wrapping the left under the right. Maybe you get the one wrap and it's just a hug. Maybe you get kind of partial wrap and just squeeze the elbows. Maybe you can get that full wrap and press the palms toward each other. And then lift the elbows up, slide the shoulders down the back, breathe full deep breaths here. reaching up. And bring the hands down to the heart. Alright, going back down to the legs and hips. I'm going to do a cross-legged forward fold. So cross your left foot in front of the right. I can get my feet pretty much in line, so they're kind of the same as if I was standing here. But not everyone can do that. If your body shape doesn't allow it, your flexibility doesn't allow that, that's fine. You can actually step that foot pretty far forward and get the same stretch. And it doesn't have to be crossed real far either. If you can, we want to get the foot all the way down to the floor. So you can cross over pretty far, but you can only get the pinky toe side of the foot down. Then bring it a little closer in and try and get that big toe mound down as well. Okay, so we're just crossing the legs, bringing the feet to the floor. Find whatever that looks like for your body. You want to avoid any kind of strain in the knees. Be aware of that. And then bring the hands to the hips. Start by lengthening tall. So we want to avoid rounding as we come forward here. Hinge from the hips and try and keep that spine straight as you come forward. And come down as far as you can. Just keep the hands at the hips. So you can point those elbows behind you. That encourages the heart to stay lifted. And in this forward fold, probably you're not going to come down quite as far as you do in a regular forward fold. That's all right. Come down to the point of sensation, especially in that outer leg and the outer hip. And just breathe into that. And then with your next inhale, try and stand tall with a straight spine, not rounding, but just hinging right back up. Okay, all right, and then uncross the legs, shake them out, shake up arms if you need to, and we're going to switch to the other side. So, crossing the right in front of the left, or the one you didn't just do. Bringing the feet in line, or stepping that front foot forward as much as you need to be stable in this pose. Both feet fully on the mat. Lengthen up tall through the spine, hands at the hips. Try and point those elbows behind you, and then lengthen, lengthen. And then hinge forward. This side might be about the same as the other side, but if you've got one hip or one leg that's a little tighter, we might really feel the difference. So keep those elbows pointing up, keep your breath strong. We use the breath in poses like this to retrain our nervous system. Often when we're in kind of an odd situation, something unusual like this shape, we tend to go to a stress pattern of breath. So by choosing the yoga breath, the full, steady, slow breath, we retrain our nervous systems, but when we encounter strange and unusual situations in life, we can remember to breathe and react a little differently. Take an inhale to lift back up. And then release. Shake out the legs. Okay. Alright, so we're going to combine that with the chair pose, and that'll be our eagle legs. So we already did the eagle arms, we're going to do the eagle legs, and we'll put it all together. So find your chair pose to start, feet hip distance. Bend the knees, sit the hips back, reach the arms up. Then we're just going to bring the arms out of it. Just bring your hands to heart center, or if you're challenged for balance, you could turn and bring your hand to a wall. You could even actually sit your hips against a wall for the support. I think I'll do that just to demonstrate. So you're either in the middle of the room or your hips are against a wall. Start to bring all the weight into your right foot. Lift your left and cross it over. See if you can bring the toes down to the mat. Or maybe you can cross the toes behind the calf. That's the deepest version of it. So find something that feels stable to you. Watch out for any tweaking, twisting in the knees. If you feel it all dumping into the knees, then just stay at kind of the lowest version of it. Okay, another breath wherever you're at. And then release, uncross the legs, Straighten them out, shake them out. Okay. And then finding your chair pose. So this one I'll do just in the middle of the room. You use the wall if you need to. Hip distance, chair pose, sit the hips back. Make sure those knees stay behind the toes. That's a protection for the knees as well. Hands come down to heart center. Start to bring all the weight into that left foot. Lifting the right, crossing up and over. So we want to squeeze the thighs together. Toes maybe down to the mat. Maybe they wrap around behind the calf. So this takes a lot of balance. One thing that helps is to find a spot that isn't moving and just focus your gaze there. So any movement around you just won't even bother you if you're really focused on that spot. Keep your breath stable, smooth and steady. And then go ahead and release. Shake out the arms, shake out the legs. Okay, all right, so as we come into our full eagle pose, we've been building up to it. We've opened up the shoulders, stretched all those muscles we need for the shoulders. We've opened all the muscles we need here in the hips and legs. We practice balancing on one foot. We're ready to go for it. So your eagle pose can look a lot of different ways depending on where you're at in your practice today. So I'll kind of go through the different signposts and show you the different levels that you might be at or you might aspire to. So eagle pose takes a lot of concentration, takes a lot of effort in the hips and the shoulders. So we know all that, we've prepared for all that. Think about the breath. As we are standing on one foot all twisted up, does your breath go back to that stress pattern, or can you keep it smooth and deep? Try and focus on the breath more than how deep you are in the pose. Okay, so find your mountain pose to start. Feel the feet on the floor, feel the crown of the head reaching up. And then inhale, reach the arms to the sky. Exhale, bend your knees, sit the hips back, chair pose. All right, let's find the arms first. So drop the arms down in front of you. We're going to wrap the right under the left. So remember, you can be here with the hug. You can just squeeze the elbows, or you can bring the palms together. Okay, if you are just working on your shoulders more, or you don't want to mess with the balance, you can just stay here in your chair pose. If you want to take it to the full eagle, it's the arm that's on bottom that becomes the leg that's on top. So you're going to stand on the left leg. Lift your right and cross it over. So we stay down in chair pose. Keep that standing leg bent. Cross it over. Cross at the thighs. We don't want a gap between the legs. That's a different pose. Squeeze the thighs together. Maybe the toes come down to the mat. Maybe you can wrap the toes behind the calf. The more you bend the standing leg, the deeper you can go into it. Okay. How is your breath? Can you smooth out the breath a little more? Can you slow it down? Can you breathe calm and deep when we're all twisted up? All right, we're going to unwrap everything. So unwrap the arms, unwrap the legs, reach high, and then let it go. So one thing that this pose physically does, it kind of compresses the lymph nodes in the groin and in the armpit area. So when we're compressing all of that and then we let it go, it just feels really nice. Or it might feel really nice. If it doesn't, that's okay too. So long as it doesn't hurt, so long as it doesn't strain. A little discomfort might be all right. Feet hip distance, sit the hips back, reach the arms up. Okay, we're going to go to that second side. So starting with the arms, bring the arms down. Wrap the left under the right. Lift the elbows up, drop the shoulders down. And then feel free to just stay there if you just want to work here. Or start to shift all the way over to your right foot. Lift the left, cross at the thighs. Maybe the toes on the mat. Maybe the toes behind the calf. And you can also do this against a wall. You could have the hips up against the wall so that you have the support. Deep, full inhales. Slow, relaxed exhales. Unwind, reach up, feel that rush of new, fresh blood, and then let it go. All right, how'd you do? You're a little wobbly, that's okay. If you nailed it, that's great. If you didn't nail it, that's great too. Every day, especially with balance, every day is a little different. All right, come toward the short end of your mat. Find your mountain pose here. We're going to take a partial sun salutation to come down to the floor. And we're going to use a lunge to kind of stretch out through the fronts of the thighs, those quad muscles that we work so much. So inhale, reach the arms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, send your right leg way, way back into a lunge. Just like chair pose, you want to keep the knee back behind the toes. Make sure the foot's flat on the mat. Drop the knee down to the mat. Pat it if you need to. Slide a blanket under or double up your mat. And then inhale, reach to the sky. So we're going for a stretch through the front of the thigh. If it doesn't feel stable to have the arms up here, you could have the hands at the thigh. We want to have that knee a little bit behind the hip so we get the stretch through the front of the thigh. And then release the hands down. Tuck the back toes, step back up to your forward fold. Inhale, find a half lift, lengthen through that spine. Exhale, fold, bend your knees and step the left leg way, way back. Drop the back knee down. And inhale, sweep the arms up or bring your hands to your thigh. So the hips come forward a little bit so that we get that stretch through the quad muscle. And then release the hands down. We're going to step this front foot back to meet the back foot and come into a child's pose. So separate the knees wide, sit back on the heels, and rest your forehead down. And just take a couple breaths in this resting pose. And then inhale, start to lift yourself back up. We're going to swing the legs around and come to sit. So I'll give you two options for this next pose. The point of it is also to stretch out the front of the quad, counter stretch for all that work we did earlier. So this is called deer pose. You're going to bend both legs and connect the sole of the foot with the knee. So start with your right shin toward the short end of your mat and the right foot touching the left knee. So that's deer pose, and you can lift up here and start to fold forward. And you can be a little closer to the knee, bring your torso a little closer to the knee, or bring your torso a little closer to the foot. Up to you. And if you want to go deeper, or you don't feel a whole lot with this pose, you can take this into pigeon pose. So the front leg will stay about the same shape. You can stretch that left leg back into your pigeon. So make sure that leg is going straight out from the hip. It's not off to the side, foot's not turning somewhere. Okay, so your choice, either deer pose and just fold here, or if it feels all right for your body, pigeon, or maybe you fold down here as well. Just take about 5 deep, steady breaths here, and see if you can return to those 3-part breaths we did at the beginning. Breathe it down into the belly, breathe out into the ribs, and then up into the chest. And then from the chest, and then deflate the ribs, and then the belly. Let's take about 4 more at your own pace. Sometimes after we've stretched and moved, it's easier to feel the breath moving through these separate parts of the body. And then gently start to walk your way up. If you're in pigeon, just come back to your deer. So you roll over to your right hip. And we're just going to switch sides. I'm bringing your left shin kind of in line with the short end of the mat and connect the left sole of the foot with the right knee. So deer pose, if you stay here, you just get into that shape, lift up tall, and then fold over your front shin. If you're going for the pigeon pose, you straighten that right leg out long. Maybe you have to walk the left foot in a little closer. And then you fold forward from there. Find whatever this pose looks like for you. And then 5 deep breaths. Belly, ribs, chest. And then chest, ribs, and belly. And then slowly start to lift yourself up out of that pose. You're in pigeon, just roll over to your left hip, come back to the deer shape. And then just bring the legs forward. So if you have a wall available, I'd like to encourage you to do legs up the wall. If you don't have a wall available, you can come onto your back and just send the legs straight up to the sky. But if you do have a wall, scooch your hips close to the wall, and then you do a little ninja flip and bring the legs up the wall. So your hips are pretty close. And you let the arms rest somewhere comfortable. So after all that work we did, standing, those eagle poses, those chairs, this is a really nice chance to let all that energy kind of drain out of the legs. Allow your eyes to close. Just focus on your breath. And if you are against a wall and you'd like to just stay there for the next couple of minutes for Shavasana, feel free to stay exactly where you are. If your legs are lifted in the middle of the room, go ahead and drop them down, or if you'd like to come to the traditional Shavasana, bend your knees, roll away from the wall. And Shavasana, the legs extended out on the floor, and the arms relaxed beside your body. Allow the eyes to close and the face to soften. And turn your attention inward. Start to notice the pattern of the breath. Not changing it any longer, just noticing, observing, letting it be exactly as it is. Letting go of any tension you might be holding in the shoulders. Just try and soften the shoulders down into the mat. Notice any tension you might be holding in the legs and hips. Let go what you can let go of. And now draw in a deeper breath. Start to find some movement in the fingers and toes. Maybe moving the head side to side. And then bend your knees. Gently roll to either side, resting in a fetal pose for just a moment. And try and keep the head and neck relaxed as you press up to your comfortable seat. Let's bring hands together at heart center. So the practice of yoga is not really about standing on one foot and getting all twisted up in our limbs. Sometimes it takes that form. But the practice of yoga is really about moving mindfully through the world. And the world sometimes gets us upside down and twisted up in all kinds of ways. So we practice standing on one foot, twisting it up on our yoga mat so that we can learn to breathe in those positions. We breathe deeply and calmly in uncomfortable positions on our yoga mat in order to change our default reaction, to adjust our default reaction so that off of our mats, when we encounter uncomfortable, strange situations in life, we can take a deep breath there as well and move from stress to understanding. Thank you for allowing me to guide you through your practice this morning, or whatever time of day it is for you. It's morning for me. The light in me honors and respects the same light in each and every one of you. Namaste.